I'm so excited to talk to these three legends. These guys are icons that we're bringing on, but we've got some incredible artists that we have had so far here at our Vater spot here. This is every Tuesday. I love it. But we're going to have on February 16th, wait till you check out what we're going to have. We're going to talk about some real hard hitters. We're going to have Abe Cunningham from the Deftones, Roy Mayorga from Stone Sour, and Morgan Rose from Seven Dust. These guys on February 16th, they're going to be here. It will be absolutely fantastic. Join us again. We're going to talk about their physical issues, how they maintain their energy. These guys are hard-hitting beasts that absolutely give 110% all the time. So join us, please, on February 16th. We recently it was so great that we had Fred Elchingham that we had here playing with Sheryl Crow, and Sheryl joined us. We had that. My gosh, that was just a great, great interview. You can go back there and check that out on Vater's Facebook page and Vater's YouTube channel. Fred was just so great talking about the grooves he plays behind Sheryl Crow. Sheryl Crow is such an artist of what she requires from Fred, and we talked about drumming, just things that she required, what she wanted, what she felt from playing with someone like Fred. Great, great stuff to have coming on. And February 23rd, we're bringing on the great Mike Mangini, currently with Dream Theater. February 23rd, again at 2 o'clock. He'll be here to talk about all that he's doing. It'll be great to have some time with Mike and touch base. So this will be exciting. So I'm glad you guys have joined us and that we're here for sure. This is incredible. So now, today, wait till you hear this. These guys are incredible. Three Vater artists, some serious credits are tied to their names. They've worked with some of the biggest in the music industry. They're legends from around the world. They have traveled everywhere, TV shows, musical guests, countless award shows, and they're just here to discuss both sides of drumming, hiring someone to sub for them and when they sub, which has led to an unbelievable career of what these three guys are having. Let's start here. Lil John Roberts, pretty much considered the godfather of Philadelphia drumming scene, a child prodigy, ended up Berklee College of Music on a full scholarship. He started out touring with DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, a fantastic group in the early days. Then he's gone on Janet Jackson, B.B. King, Stevie Wonder, George Benson, Elton John, Michael Jackson, Prince, Snoop Dogg, Dave Chappelle, Jamie Foxx. Holy mackerel, bring it on with you, please. Welcome, Lil John Roberts.
Hey, Dom.
Lil John, when I'm reading these notes, I'm like freaking out. You guys, what you guys have done and continue to do is so incredible. And your career, I want to get into it in the depth of what it is, because what you are continuing to do is just so fantastic. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Dom.
Fantastic. Next, Chris Johnson's musical career started at a very young age. He first broke into the touring world in 1998. Since then, he's worked with Stevie Wonder, Rihanna, Lady Gaga, Jennifer Lopez, Patti LaBelle, Seal, Fantasia, just to name a few. And Chris recently has got an educational book out now, Pop, R&B, and Gospel Drumming, which is on Hal Leonard. Please welcome Chris Johnson.
I'm here. Thank you. Appreciate you, Dom. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. LJ, what's popping, bro?
Yes, sir. I checked that book out last night.
Bless you, man. Thank you, bro.
I've got my copy on the way having it, so I'll probably have that later on today. I'm going to rip it out and start practicing on it. Thanks.
I appreciate it.
More about that.
I appreciate that, man.
Good man. This next gentleman, oh my gosh, who I've known for years, Brian Frasier-Moore, another major successful person in our industry, also out of the Philly area. Started playing drums at 5. Drummer, musical director, educator, consultant, wearing many, many hats. And my gosh, Christina Aguilera, Janet Jackson, Madonna, Justin Timberlake, who just performed at the inauguration, Backstreet Boys, Tony Braxton. Listen, when you think about this, what you guys have done is incredible. Brian, 3 Super Bowl halftimes, and recently the national anthem on the Super Bowl. We just saw this past Sunday. Brian Frasier-Moore, bring him on.
Hey. What up, Chris? What up, LJ? What up, Godfather?
Boy, you guys really, it's so impressive in what you guys, the legacy that you guys have left with the artists that you have. The biggest of the biggest. It's really pretty amazing. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
I want to start with Lil John. I want to talk about the fact that, listen, subbing being hired to go in there or having to find someone to sub. Let's just talk about the concept of that. You're on there, you're performing, and you got to find someone to sub for a gig that you cannot do. So how do you go about that process? Little John, how do you go about that where you got to find someone for the right gig and you got to pull them in or develop them and find out where they're at? How do you go about that process?
Well, a lot of it started, it starts from friendships. Like we all look out for each other. Me, Chris, Brian, a lot of our friends, peers, we all look out for each other as far as gigs is concerned. And if one person can't do something, we reach out to each other and say, hey man, I can't do this. Can you do it? Just first of all, because of the reputation that our peers already have. So, they're our friends, but they are also great musicians and great drummers, and they know what to do, so you got to have the right somebody that's representing you as well. Because when you put your name out there or when you put them out there, you're also putting your name out there as well.
So we're talking about the importance of relationships here. I mean, this is really an important part of relationships as people that you like and the musicians that you respect.
Absolutely. Yeah. And they gotta come in and do what you were doing, and if not, do it better,
So is there a development process that you gotta, are there charts? Is there a talk down that you gotta give them?
Yeah, it depends. For instance, Chris Johnson and Brian have worked with our big brother Ricky Minor, for instance. His gigs call for a lot of demand, so you're going to read charts on Ricky Minor's gig. There was one incident when I couldn't do something that he asked me to do. He asked for a recommendation, and I recommended somebody, and I said, I'm not sure about his reading though. And Ricky said, oh, okay, maybe we can get around that. But, I like his feel, who I was talking about. I'm not going to mention his name. And he got to rehearsal, and lo and behold, there was a lot of charts, and he didn't know how to read. So he couldn't even get through rehearsal to get to the gig. So Ricky called me immediately and said, hey, man, I mean, I love this guy. I love his playing and everything, but we are moving so fast. He can't read the charts. I got to get somebody else, So for instance, that's one of the demands as far as like coming behind somebody. We all have come behind Teddy Campbell, who works with Ricky the most. That's his first call drummer. He's been with him for years. And Teddy, even, when he first started working with Ricky, even said that he had to get his reading chops up for those kind of gigs as well.
So it comes down to the fact that you got to really trust these guys, at their musical level. Listen, you guys are at a very, very high level. And, it really is an important part for people to realize, that all the people that are watching us right now, listen, getting those reading chops and getting your playing chops and getting your professional chops at a high level is why you guys are where you're at when these top artists call you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It really is as simple as that. Chris, what's it like with yourself? If you got to have someone fill in for you, what's that like?
It's tough. It's a tough type of situation to be put in, because the artist expects a certain thing, and we've been in rehearsals for however long, or playing on a tour for however long, and they become accustomed to what you're doing. And like John said, you have to be able to trust that somebody can come in and do exactly what you did or better, and it's huge shoes to fill. Is like, on the other side of that, having to sub for somebody, it's a lot of pressure. Being a sub and in this position, it takes more than one avenue. It takes more than just one genre. It takes more than one feel. It takes, to jump from gig to gig or sub. There was a time where I was subbing for each one of these guys at the same time, like just hopping from gig to gig. And the adjustments that you have to make are huge and vital, and you have to trust that a guy that you can call will be able to make those adjustments on the fly, and the changes or whatever else that goes on as well, aside of the personality, issues and everything else as well.
So when you talk about the pressure, and I want people to really understand that, when you're up there and you're playing and you're smiling, you're making this look so effortless, there is pressure.
Absolutely.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I'll just talk about my brother right here, be more. When I subbed for him on the Madonna gig, you know, watching those YouTube videos and shows and clips that, you know, Kevin Antunes, you know, he was gonna have me ready, right? So he wasn't never gonna let me fall down on my face. So I'm looking at all these videos and everything is played so perfectly and precise. And I'm not I wouldn't say that I was the electronic guy, because that was what the gig called for. I had to play electronic drums. So it changed the way I played and it changed the way I approached it. So I just did not want to mess up. You know what I mean? These people are flying me out. You know, they sending me music, they treating me right. And Brian is like on the other side. He's like, yo, make sure you treat him good. And, you know, this, that, and the third. And he knew that I can do the job, but still it was just like a lot of pressure. It was just like, I cannot mess this up. I can't say the wrong thing. I can't, you know, I can't move a certain way like how I'm used to moving. You know, you gotta make the adjustments, like I was saying, you know, and then when it comes to the playing, it's the execution and the people that you're around. You're around stardom 24/7, even in rehearsals. You know, rehearsals are like shows. So like you're in the middle of it from the beginning. So it's like, let me just settle my nerves down, be myself, you know, try and do the best job that I can do. And if, you know, if they don't like it, then, you know, we can go from there. But all I can do is what I can do, you know.
Yeah,
Hey,
you killed.
yeah.
I just want to say you smashed it too, yo.
Bro.
I remember the show. You killed. I was at home like.
It felt great to, you know, even on that level, you know, to be trusted. You know what I mean? Like I've worked with Kevin Antunes before, and you know, Brian's my brother. So when we had that talk, or we talked on the phone and talked it down, it was just like it felt good to be trusted in that magnitude. And then like meeting her and the exchange that we had. You know, artists, you know, they're used to certain things. You know, artists are used to certain people, and they turn around and it's like, oh, that's not Brian. You know, like, what's going on? Like, who are you? What's your name? Where are you from? Like, you know, like, you know, aside of all of that, you know, in all, it went great. I had a great time, and I appreciate the call, Brian.
Man, you killed it. Thank you for being there, bro.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And Kevin Antunes, who's the musical director for Madonna, is a phenomenal, musician himself. I mean, he's really an incredible professional, first-class musician. So he's expecting certain things. So Brian, what is it like for yourself when you got to bring somebody in? We talked about relationship. What's it like when you're calling up Chris and saying, "Listen, Chris, how's that? What's that call like?"
I mean, from the start, for me, it's all confidence. You know what I'm saying? I know Chris, both of these guys, man. Like if I ever couldn't do anything, I know without a shadow of a doubt that their professionalism is going to be there. Their demeanor is going to be there, to being able to adapt to an artist's personality. This is even before we even get to the music, because that's how it happens real time. But I know that they're going to study the music. So I have complete confidence in Chris that he could do it, and because that's what he does on those levels. Lil John and Chris, that's what they do. So I think to anyone listening, the biggest thing I would say is don't downplay the personal aspect of it, because you only see the final performance when you see it. But it's a whole road that goes before that. It's just like personality. Are you on time? Were you late? Did you get offended by the criticism? Well, it's just a whole thing. So back to your point, with these guys, both of these guys, I would say I have complete confidence in. They're professionals.
Boy, it's an interesting point. So how do you deal with understanding the qualities of the person? And what I'm saying is, listen, you've got to be a really good, honest, hardworking, dedicated person first, and then have the skill to play great, have the chops, have the reading skills. I mean, that's a lot. That's a pretty high standard that you guys have set.
Hey, and then have the integrity to not want to come in and take your guy's gig. Which that has happened to people. All of us have experienced that one guy where he gets in there and he's hanging out with the folks that you're cool with, and he brought him into this whole situation, and then he's on the side saying, well, if Lil John and Brian and Chris can't do it no more, y'all know who y'all can call. And it's happened. I mean, Brian, we can talk about it. I know.
I knew this was gonna come up. I knew.
And we keep it 100 here. We keep it at 100.
But you are absolutely right. And to even go further than that, the artists, producers or MD or whoever management will bypass you and go straight to the sub. Like, hey, Chris kind of dips in and out of this gig a lot, so we kind of looking for somebody more stable, like that'll be here. You do a great job. No disrespect to Chris, but would you continue on? And it's up to that person to say, well, you know what? This is not my gig. I'm just a sub. Maybe have that conversation with Chris, and then maybe y'all could take it from there. Let me know what's going on, because that's how I would approach a gig. That I've been asked many a times to continue a tour, just subbing, and it's just like I can't do that. For one, that's my brother. I want to be integral. I want to be straight up, because I'm gonna need him down the line somewhere, and it's not worth the gig, to ruin that relationship and that camaraderie between us brothers. So I respectfully decline. Now, if he says he can't continue on, then that's another conversation. So yeah, that is a huge factor, which is why it's very hard to select someone to sub for you, because you gotta pick somebody you can trust. I mean, it's hard to trust somebody, but to say he's gonna go in, I know he's gonna smash it because I'm calling him, but what's gonna happen after that?
They might even be trying to pay him less money.
Interesting.
Oh man.
There's another
he be stirring up the pot.
Y'all know that's what I do. I'm an instigator. But I love it, man. You got to talk about it because it happens.
Yeah.
For real, just what Chris said, just as an example and how I felt personally. Once again, I was working with Ricky Minor for John Legend's inauguration performance. So he calls, and I say, of course, I would love to do it. I hung up the phone. I'm like, John Legend? I said, man, Rashid, what's going on, bro? You know what I'm saying? Like, because when I think John Legend, I think man, and Rashid. That's what I think.
Williams, absolutely.
Family. So I think a lot of drummers just keep that integrity. If I was to say anything, we are union and a source of good and pushing each other together. So that's very important.
So in that situation, you get the call, you call up Rashid, and Rashid says he had something else going on or something like that, or?
Well, I can't disclose our conversation on this, but what happened is it was cool. The call was appreciated and respected, and the understanding came into play, and it was all good.
See, this is a very, very important part, which we sometimes don't hear about. The level of respect and the level of integrity that is needed in this industry. You guys are great examples of shining that light crystal clear on the of being that kind of a stand-up person.
Absolutely.
In order to survive in an industry like this, you have to. And some people may think survival is just taking everything that they can get. I can imagine the conversation going, the award shows and special TV specials like the inauguration, stuff like that is out of the artist's hands sometimes. So it's like you gotta be understanding. It's like, it's nothing personal, because I know as soon as the inauguration is over and John has something else to do, it's gonna be Man and Rashid. Like knowing that. I know it's gonna be me for the Rihanna tour after this special is over, that Ricky Minor is MDing or whoever is MDing. It's like I'm not taking it personally. I just know how the business works, and also just keeping myself, just trying to be understanding, and compassionate to the situations,
Hey, man, what goes around comes around. I don't want that karma following me. No, Jack, not me.
Lil John, that's very, very powerful what you're saying. I mean, that really is a matter of understanding that what you put out is what will come back.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, that's interesting.
I think I speak for all our mamas and say that was instilled from way back.
Oh, yeah. But not everybody thinks that way, man. Unfortunately, some cats out here are just all for self, and they're going to do whatever it takes to get where they got to go.
Well, let's go back to that level of discipline and that level of respect. We'll start with Lil John. Where do you think you empower that understanding of developing those skills? I mean, it's really what that is. It's a skill that you learned, obviously, at a younger age.
Yeah, I mean, I had great examples, man, coming up. I mean, we all grew up in church, so that's where it all starts from, the roots. But I mean, some people have grown up in church too and don't act that way, and I don't have anything to do with that. But the way that I was brought up and the people that I was surrounded around back then, like my mentors or all the drummers that I grew up listening to and hanging out with, they all had integrity, man. They have respect. The professionalism was there, so I had great examples to see, what to follow after.
Yeah. Boy, how fantastic! Absolutely fantastic. Chris, how about yourself when you were younger? I lost your volume.
I'm sorry. Yeah, my mom basically, she wouldn't take no stuff. It was integrity or nothing. And the ultimate professional. Like I'm a stickler for being on time. I'm a stickler for being prepared. And it's because of them. My mom and my dad, and it's just like do the right thing, remain integral always. That your integrity prize comes from God. It doesn't come from people. So like stick to your guns, be a good person, remain integral and responsible.
Boy, that's fantastic. Responsibility and accountability. Brian, how about yourself?
I mean, just what these gentlemen have said as well, just to add to it, it's morals that was placed into you when you were younger. And then I also want to add that maybe it's experiences. Maybe Brian had a big head when he was younger. Maybe he thought he was the man. Maybe he wanted other intentions, and then he hit that wall and he realized. So just being open to experiences and mistakes, you can always learn from them and come back from it, and just being a great person. I don't ever want to step on anybody's toes, man. I'd rather go through the dirt and the building of my own thing than to step on somebody else's toes.
Boy, fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So now tell me about what it's like. What preparation do you need? Now, one of you guys gets the call to sub for someone else. What kind of preparation do you put into what needs to be done with the charts? You got a set list. You've got, recordings you got to listen to. How do you prepare yourself for it? Let's start with Lil John.
Okay, so you get the music, of course. There's been situations where the music came like right before it was time to play. Take a flight and get to sound check, and then you rehearsing with the band at sound check, and then you doing the show in a few hours. So there's been instances like that, and that's where you're like, you come up with a method. Like we've all come up with our own methods. We're probably similar. We've never really talked about it, but I'm sure it's probably close. How we listen to the music, first song to the end, the intro of the show to the end of the show, and everything in between, from song to song. We've picked some songs. I know I do. I pick the easiest song and listen to that first, and okay, cool, get that out the way. Now let me listen to the hardest song that I have to put the most attention to and most attention span for. If there's some charts, I'm if I don't get the charts from them, I'm downloading them from PDF or whatever. I'm on a plane looking at reading the charts at the same time that I'm listening to it. There was an incident that happened with Queen Latifah. It was the first time that I had to work with her. Oscar Seaton was on the gig, and he had a health issue right on the day of the gig. And they called me at the last minute and said, "John, can you fly over here and do this gig and fill in for Oscar?" Glad he's okay, but at that time we were worried, not knowing what was going to happen with him. But they had to do the show like in a few hours. So they sent me the music. There was one song in particular. What's the song? It's like 300 BPMs jazz, hits and everything. Big band. John, what's John's last name? The MD. Chris, what's the MD? John. Forgot his last name. Anyway, it was 300 BPMs fast, So I'm swinging, and it's a lot of hits and stuff in this song. And so that was the first song of the show that I had to learn real quick before I got there. So I'm listening to that in the plane over and over and over and over again. The other stuff was a little more easier because she has jazz and she has the R&B and the hip hop stuff. I could get that because some of the stuff I already knew, but I had this much time to get on a flight. I think it was in Florida or somewhere like that. So the flight may have been like 2 or 3 hours. So I had that much time to listen to all of these songs and learn that one particular song, Live Till I Die, which was the top of the show. So when I got to sound check, that was the first song that they went over. And I did pretty good, it was on the charts and everything. So I made my notes and everything so that I could read it fast. I'm not Vinnie Colaiuta, so I'm not reading that stuff straight down perfectly, but I know how to make my notes and things like that to at least get through the chart and then, finalize it later, So we got through that show, man. But that was an example of, the work that you had to do in a last minute situation like that.
But can I say, Dom, that John is like an elephant anyway. He can hear the song like one time and just be like, "Hey, did you notice the baby crying all the way in the?" You'd be like, so he an elephant anyway. So.
So that's part of the cheat right there is memorizing things. You don't always have to read everything. If you hear it, a lot of stuff that us growing up in church, man, we had to learn songs so fast at church. Even now, if we playing at churches now and stuff, we'll learn the song the day of on the way to church. We get the song and it's like, you got to figure it out. You figure the verse, the chorus, the bridge, you figure out the hits. And gospel music now is not easy. It's like some fusion, so it's hits everywhere. You got to fill in the stuff, you chopping and stuff, especially these drummers now, they all chopping over everything. So there's no space for you to just play pocket, really. And I'm not that guy. So I'm like, I'm not playing all of these fills in between these notes. Like I'm gonna play the hits and stuff, but I'm not Virgil Donati in the whole song. You know what I'm saying? So it's to each his own.
But that's so great that you found what you do and you deliver what you do in that situation, but you guys always deliver it at 110%. Chris, how do you prepare yourself for what you're doing?
Like John said, it depends. I've had the overnight call, I've had the 2-week prep call. I've had the full, month of rehearsal sub call. It's mainly, just gathering the music. One thing that I do is I listen to all the other instruments that I'm playing with in order to get my cues. Like I have certain mental cues that I make in my head. It's like, okay, when the guitar player plays this riff, I know that's the second chorus or the second whatever hit that's coming up, that I need to play. I just try and make small references, with the music and, do my research on the artist, do my research on the musical director. If there's, like John said, if there's any music that needs to be downloaded, I'll just go ahead and do it. I'm not going to wait for the MD to send me the music or anything. Just being a little bit more proactive, trying to treat that job as if it was mine, like I'm not subbing, mentally, I'm not actually being a sub, but like this is the gig. Like I have to prepare myself as if this was my gig, so it really depends. It just depends on the instance.
Well, there's such great pride that you guys take in every gig you perform, every sub that you come in. You guys really, are at such a high level of integrity, which is really that's the key word. Integrity is, do your work, do your actions follow your words? You guys perform and produce that all the time at every high level. Brian, you're constantly on fire. How do you prepare, in some of these gigs that you're doing?
I'm getting old, man. So my retention, it ain't so good like Lil John. You see all this gray hair right here, Zach. Anyway, so I have
Whatever.
a little. So like these guys are saying, getting the music, studying the music. for me, it's psychological. So I break it down like, what is the intro doing? What is the verse doing? The verse and the second verse are going to be kind of the same. Maybe some little extra sprinkles. The hook and the first hook and the second. So I kind of compartmentalize it and break it down a little bit to help me to remember. And then I've been using. I'm sorry. I've been using this method that I have composition books, right? So I have a composition book, and I write intro is happening here. You know, the verse there's an accent at bar 7, beat 2, and these are just little guidelines for me. Just so I can feel comfortable, because for me, it's about feeling comfortable enough to express the music. If I'm constantly thinking in my head what's coming up next, then I can't be 100% comfortable to give it the vibe that it needs. So those are just things that I do personally, but same thing these guys do. Let's dissecting the music and all of that stuff.
Interesting. Brian, we're getting a little bit of your Wi-Fi seems to be cutting in and out, Brian. If you can take a chance to look at that for sure at the point. Let me go to this next point, Brian. Thank you so much. Lil John, mistakes, challenges. You're under the pressure. You're under the gun. You might be, you got to read the chart. You got to work maybe some electronics. You got to give a cue. You got to get a cue. What are some of the challenges that you encounter in the intensity of the pressure?
Oh man, I mean, first of all, it's mental over everything. Like, you got to mentally, fight yourself to get through whatever it is that's happening. And we have to have confidence in this business, man. Like, you not overconfident, but you got to have confidence, because if you don't, you are going to sink. You're going to fall down like quicksand. So you got to have a sense of confidence to know what it is that you're doing. And a lot of times it takes doing it over and over again that brings that confidence to you. You know what you're going to do. You know how you're going to do it. You know, if you make a mistake, how to fix it, without somebody really hearing it. We have ways of doing that, it's just do it, man. Get it done. However way it possible to get it done, you do it. And you try to make sure you do it with excellence,
Is there ever anything, are you guys using a lot of electronics now in some of the performances?
Oh, everything is electronics now. I mean, the first time that I had to use electronics was coming behind Jonathan Moffett with Janet Jackson. I had never used electronics on a gig like that before. Her show was all electronics. Like, you could get rid of the drum set really and just use pads, because that music, it wasn't live drums on those songs. It was samples, kicks and snares and all kind of stuff. But I mean, the live aspect is the live drum mixed with the electronics on the drums. And that's when I figured out, okay, I got to use triggers. I got to use these. We had drum cats and stuff back then. So basically, when Jonathan left that gig, I had to come in, just sit right in that seat, and everything was already laid out on the drum set for me. It was my set. He played maybe DW or something. I played Pearl back then. So they just switched drum sets, but they put all the electronics in the same place. And I had to figure out on the spot how to play this show live like that, and it was a challenge for me, because I'd never done that before, and I didn't have a chance to rehearse it. I knew the music, playing it, just regularly, but now I got to play the parts on the pads and stuff. Like, it ain't just playing kick, snare, hats, and toms. Like, now I'm playing claps, I'm playing 808s, I'm playing little electric snares and all that stuff. And I was just like, whoa, thank God to my tech that was there, Craig. He passed away now, and he really, really helped me out when I came into that gig. I had never used in-ear monitors before. That was a new thing. Really, the technology was starting to move into, us using in-ears and stuff. So I had to get the molds done, and I never knew anything about that kind of stuff. I had never played to a live click with pre-recorded tracks before. I had good timing. I always practiced the drum machines and things like that, but I had never done this on a gig live on this kind of a scale either. So I was learning on the spot, man. It was pretty crazy.
So it's the serious learning curve. I mean, you're like, now you're becoming the octopus, because you got to read the music, you got to work the electronics, you got to know where all the cues are. This is intense.
Yeah, I mean, well, we weren't even reading the music. You just had to know Janet Jackson's music. Well, with the live arrangement, and I learned the live arrangement from a VCR tape. They sent me a VCR tape of the show. So I had to learn the show from top to bottom watching this videotape. Oh, and they gave me a DAT. We had DAT players back then. They gave me a DAT of one of the live shows, and it said Janet Jackson, Kansas City, or something like that. Because they had just done the States. They had just done the first half of the Janet tour in the States. And they were getting ready to go overseas to Australia, was going to be the first place at the top of the year. And she had a few weeks or something like that to get me acclimated to the show with their, choreography and everything. So I was in a hot seat, bro, at 23 years old, Dom. And, I pulled it off, man. By the grace of God, I pulled it off.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. And I want to add to that, Dom, if I can. Like, I don't believe I've ever subbed a gig for Lil John. Not that I can remember. But we've definitely played on the same gigs before. Neo, Stevie Wonder, But with Brian, he talked about. John talked about the different setups and the changes and stuff like that. So in instances where you don't get the rehearsal time and you don't get a chance to bring your kit in, I'm a lefty. I play open-handed. So if I was to sub a gig for Brian, I would have to sit. I mean, literally, I can't change out my drums. I have to sit on his kit and play his kit, how he sets it up, because there was no time to do any of that. So that is a huge, huge, huge challenge when it comes into, having to sub on late notice like that. And then also just acclimating yourself to because electronics do play a huge, huge, huge part in today's industry. I play DTX, Yamaha, multi-pads. Brian still plays the Roland SPSX, and two totally different beasts. So I have to again, in preparation and doing research, it's like, okay, well, what sounds do I need, and how do I, because it's not always a tech there like that. Sometimes it's just like, yo, I need you here at 12, bring a black suit, white shirt, and a tie, and go get this COVID test real quick, and then here's the songs that we need to listen to. It's in certain instances in prep, you have that time. In other instances, it's, and these guys, all of listening to a song over and over and over and over again, it's like, all right, I got it. Then you sit down on the kit, and then it's like, oh, I don't have it. It's like I kind of have it, but I don't have it to feel like super comfortable. And those are the challenges that, I had to overcome, like with, subbing for guys like, Brian and Teddy Campbell and Gordon, not so much, because we kind of had the same setup, but the guys, when you have to come in and play their setup, it's like, oh, okay, so that's a whole nother thing.
Well, Gordon also plays open-handed, right?
He does, but he's also a little smaller, so like I have to kind of chicken arm myself around his kit, you know what I mean? So no disrespect, because I love that's my dude, Gordon. I love you, bro. Don't take it personally, please. But yeah, just making those small minor adjustments. You go to play the figure on the chart and you hitting rims. You hitting the rims because he sets his times differently, or just those things that super hard to overcome. But you can't let them see you sweat. You know what I mean? Just like, you gotta get in there, like you said, use the confidence that you have and bank on what you know and the experiences that you had up until that point to get you through it.
Well, I heard Gordon play at the ASCAP festival that they had. He just sounded fantastic at what it is. So, but you're right. Everyone's got a little bit of a different setup. You have to adapt, whether it's seat height, location of toms, cymbals. So not only do you have to worry about reading the chart and having everything else happening, but then you got to know that when you reach out to hit that crash, that you hit the freaking crash. You gotta make sure you know where you're going to hit the sound.
There's nothing more embarrassing, right? You're looking at the you're looking at the chart over here, right? You're looking at the chart, and you go to hit a crash, and it's like, Bink. Like you don't even know what you hit. It's just like it wasn't a crash. Like there's nothing more embarrassing than that for sure.
Brian, with yourself working with a lot of electronics and stuff like that, how's that come down? Have you had challenges? Have you had to have this learning curve to constantly work on this evolving, change of products?
Well, I gotta be 100. I gotta say that Little John has set off a beast in me that has become a part of my package and my percentage, because I saw him first playing with electronics on Velvet Rope tour. I was playing with Usher on that tour. We were opening up for Little John on that tour. So every night I was like on the side of the stage like this. Like, yo, this is crazy. And he was smashing, and I saw his setup. So props out to you, John, for lighting that spark in me. But now I'm crazy with it, bro. Like, I'm bananas with it. I won't send out a song unless I have trigger, kick, and whatever it is. Even on the Super Bowl, I find a sample that fits mine. I tune my snare drum to that sample, so you can't really even tell. And you never know how production is going to do, what the guy that's mixing it is going to do. And so not only using the triggers as ooh, look, there's the claps and there's the snaps, but using it in a way to enhance the natural tone and the natural sound of your drums to make them fit that dynamic. So shout out to Little John, because it's like a part of my whole thing now.
Oh man, I got a story about him, Dom.
Yeah.
Brian came behind me on Janet's gig. I couldn't do the second tour with Janet, All For You. And they called me. I was in the middle of getting ready to go out on a tour with George Duke. And I said, man, I can't leave George. Like, I've already committed to this and everything. It was only a little bit of time in between to switch over. So Roger Davies that was my partner. We used to hang out. That was my party friend, like he was managing Janet at the time. He calls me. He says, well, if you can't do it, then what are we going to do? Who can we get? I said, man, call Brian. Like, he was on tour with us. He watched the show every night. He probably knows the whole show now, like, which he did, I'm sure. And I didn't even notice until later on that Brian, he had to audition. I'm like, why did he have to audition? I told them who to get, but Brian came in and played the stuff like it was, me. Basically, and whatever they came up with, for the next tour, Janet's stuff kind of stays the same, but they change things up a little bit here and there for show, but he played it perfectly, man. So it was just like, who else to get but him, because he was there half the whole time on the tour with us with Velvet Rope and Usher, Janet and Usher together. So we had a great time on that tour, but it was the perfect person to jump in when I couldn't do it.
Let me tell you something. If I had 10% of what you guys have forgotten in the art of drumming, I'd be a better drummer.
Don't try that, bro.
Right.
Don't try to pull it, bro. You the Godfather. Don't even do that on this platform, bro.
You guys have the experience that you have, and the intensity that you guys have worked in every musical situation you played on has to be at 100% every gig. And you guys always take ownership of that and have pride in that, and you produce, you make it happen. That's absolutely amazing. We have a question I want to bring up here. Let's see if we can pull up this question here. Let's see. Chad Brandolini, who's my producer here, is making this happen. Let's see if Chad can pull this off. Here it is. Scott Pistol Crockett. Oh, fantastic hearing from you, Scott. Keeping it real. Has any one of you lost a gig?
That would be a no for me.
I can't say that I have.
I've walked away from one.
That for sure. I've made decisions that was better for me and my family, for sure. But lost a gig, I'm not sure. I can't remember. I don't think so.
I gotta say, not losing a gig because of performance issues, but personality issues. Not necessarily. Like there was an artist. I just gotta say this real fast, and I ain't gonna put nobody on the glass. But
here we go.
there was an artist that had a band, and I was friends with the producers. So the producers produced the record. That's what they wanted to hear. The band that was interpreting the record took it, and it was killing, and they took it out. So I got hired by the producers to bring it back to what the record was. I tried to bring it back to what the record was. The artist said, "You whack." I said, "I can't wait, cuz."
You got set up. That's what that was. You got set up,
basically.
bro.
That the producer set me up big time. Yep.
There's so many facets to it, Dom. I mean, there's so many things that could change. Like, the MD could be cool with somebody else that more than they are with you, and they want their friend there to be in the band, and it's a lot of things that could happen there. It don't have nothing to do. A lot of times, it probably doesn't have anything to do with your playing. It could be the relationship with somebody that's not working.
So what you're saying is basically politics is not only in Washington, D.C.
Oh, God.
Man, that's a whole nother hour of podcasting right there, bro.
But there have been gigs.
I just found out that politics was in D.C. from the industry that we're in.
What is it like? I got to go back to some drum checks, because the drum checks that you guys have to have got to be a part of your understanding of everything that you're doing. You got to have drum techs that you can lean on, that you can totally depend on them through thick or thin, for sure. Little John, drum techs, how do you develop and work with a drum tech?
Man, the drum tech is the extension of you. You're only going to be, and I will say, you're only going to be as good as your drum tech is, really. When it comes down to it, and making sure that they are holding your life in their hands. If something goes wrong, they are the ones that you're looking at. Like, you can't do anything while you're playing the show. If something goes wrong, they have to have that responsibility. If a kick drum, if a kick head busts in the middle of the show, you're not going to be able to change it. Your tech has to figure out a way to get down there and change the head or something. I've always had, and I know my boys have it too, we always have this side kick drum just in case we bust the head. It's an electric kick drum that we put on the side. I always had it there on the right next to my kick drum pedal. If just in case if that head busts in the middle of the show, I can jump onto that electric kick pedal and finish playing, while the tech can go in and change the head or whatever like that. Or a snare, same thing. We always have a side snare nearby or whatever. But electronics, I've had electronic hell before on some shows, snares, double triggering, kick, like they got to go while you're playing and fix the threshold and the velocity or whatever like that. Because it could be a temperature change in the city that you're playing in or whatever. Anything, the traveling could have changed some things and knocked it out of whack or something. But while you're doing that gig, that tech that's your wife. Damn near, what I'm saying? For lack of a better scenario, but that's your right hand, seriously. So Kenny Sharretts has been my tech in the last tours that I did, and that guy, man, tuning. Because I love the way that I tune. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a good drum tuner. So when you come behind me and try to tune my stuff, I'm like, hey, hold on, this is my thing. I know how I want my snare to be tuned and my toms and stuff. But Kenny Sharretts, man, Chris has worked with Kenny. I don't know if Brian, if you worked with Kenny Sharretts before, but yeah, and there's other guys and these guys have worked with too. But for me, Kenny, man, he worked with us with Stevie Wonder. He did me and Stanley Randolph's drum sets when we were on tour together doing double drums. And his tuning is impeccable, and he's got YouTube videos out there. I'm shouting him out so people can look him up. Kenny Sharretts, he's out there.
Sure.
He has great videos, about tuning and electronics and all that kind of stuff. So the tech is very, very important.
Fantastic. Chris, is your tech like your wife?
Be careful. Be careful.
No.
I regret saying that now.
I love all my brothers, man. Like, I've worked with a lot over the years, but I want to touch on the text that you don't get to prepare for or with, like just coming in on a gig. Like it's funny story of this guy. I can't remember what show I was subbing for, but it was just like I did everything that I could. I sent the writer, I sent a picture of my kit. I sent everything. It's like, yo, like if you have any questions, here's my cell number. Just hit me up. I'm always gonna be at the venue an hour before the band is supposed to be there, just so that I know that my stuff is straight. So, this one particular instance, we're not gonna mention any names, right? Get to the gig, and walk up on the riser, and the dude says, I saw your pictures, I saw the writer, but I thought that maybe you would want to play it like this.
Oh,
So I set it up like this.
Ooh.
So it's like, I mean, I'm a super nice guy, man. Like I don't think I've ever spazzed on anybody, you know what I mean, like that. So I just kind of like, I just took my backpack off. I was like, okay, just do me a favor, take everything off the riser for me. I had it set up in 10 minutes. So the production manager's like, no, what are you doing? It's already set up. I said, bro, I'm not gonna play these drums like nobody did nothing. Give me 10 minutes. I need everything off the riser. So audio had to come over there and take the mics off. I mean, the kit was set up, mic to everything. And I thought that was a very difficult thing to have to go through. Like, because what we're used to, we scratching the sleep out our eyes, walking off the bus, going to sound check. And it's already set up. You do sound check, boom, you out of there. Like, that's what we're really used to. But having to sub certain gigs like that, and the techs are just, they're supposed to be your right hand, but it's not always, the case. So when it comes to, having to make that adjustment, it's just like, man, that's a whole nother weight that's on my shoulder, along with the music, along with everybody else, and the rest of the band, they know the show, so they don't have any incentive with helping you learn the show. They're like, they know the show, so they chilling. They gonna walk in, they on their phone, they doing this, they doing that. So having a good tech in all of those instances. Sometimes you can call your tech, be like, yo, EP, can you roll and do this, whatever with me? Yo, here's the production manager's number. Boom, this link. Okay, cool. Antonio or somebody. But just certain times where it's just like you just got to get up and go. It's like, here's the text number, call the tech. Hey, been hearing about you, got your pictures, got your writer. That's the best that you can do, really.
Yeah.
So I've been on that side of it as well. But texts are very, very important for sure. But I'll never, even on a tour, I will never leave my setup and my, the drum riser. I'll never leave that solely up to my tech. I have to like be there and like, I don't want to micromanage, but just like, just to save you a little time, maybe if you do this first, you'll get the same height, joints as the last time, do this, just helping and coaching. And then I'll sit down and like make the small adjustment. It's like, okay, cool. This is what it is. Cause I don't like my floor times like nailed down. I like them on legs because, if any moment I need to move it, I can just touch it and move it. So it's hard for my floor time and snare drums really, to get right every time. It's like, it's going to be really, really hard for me. That's just how I am. So I'm gonna come up there an hour before and make sure everything is cool anyway. So I'm kind of like my own tech, really.
But that's fantastic that you take that kind of ownership and you have that kind of pride in what you're doing. It's an extremely important part of why your success is there. Brian, what's it like working with drum techs on your end?
For me, I worked with a gang of techs. Chris Oxett really schooled me to the whole game back when we were using a Kai Z8 for the brain and drum catch for the controller. So he kind of set the blueprint. That's my guy, Chris Oxett. He showed me the game, endorsements. He kind of took me under his wing. So then each tech after that I worked with, I kind of took on the same blueprint. So James J.R. Newkirk, Okwa Andrew, Antonio Geary. Antonio Geary was a student of my consultation service, and that was our project to set up the gear and have the gear. It was like a Karate Kid, Mr. Miyagi thing, where he would have 20 minutes to set the whole kit up, electronics, everything. We would check it. So I run them through real life scenarios because I like my guys to be comfortable before they hit the madness of a rehearsal or a stage. So even a part of the building the rack, I include my techs in on the building of my rack because I want them to feel the responsibility of how important their part is to it. I mean, ultimately, I know what I want, but I want them to be hands-on with it like it's their baby as well. So we share the same kind of energy. So throughout all of my texts, that's kind of been a relationship. We do everything together. We build together. We ride together. We die together. Bad boys for life. No, I'm just joking. But that's kind of the relationship I have with these guys. I want them to be comfortable too, and the stage can bring you many curves and things you just never know. So I think the time getting together before all the madness is great for both of us.
Well, that's great advice. You're expecting the unexpected for sure and being prepared for it. Fantastic. We have 5 minutes left, so I want to go 1 minute each. Lil John Roberts, Philly style model, 55 double B model. Talk about Vater for a second.
Oh man, I've been with Vater for almost 20 years now, man. It's so crazy to say that. I met Vater when I was at Berklee College of Music. I met the guys from Vater, Johnny, who was working at Jack's Drum Shop. I'm sure you're familiar with it, Dom, when you've been in Boston. Yeah. And I was playing Vic Firth first. So shout outs to Vic Firth. You know, they got me started. And I moved over to Vater. You know, I found out that Vater was actually, you know, producing a lot of those sticks at that time before they became Vater. They were helping Vic Firth sticks produce Vic Firth. But man, it's been a great ride. They've always been very supportive of my my career and everything. And, you know, any ideas that we all have, you know, it's very easy to get them to, you know, bring it to fruition. And I love the stick that I've been using. I've been using it for a long time. It's like a 5A, very standard, but a little longer than the normal 5A. I went and used some bigger sticks on the last tour that I was doing, just to, I tried some bigger sticks out. Stanley Randolph got me playing some bigger sticks. He plays tree branches for sticks. And he said, man, if you use bigger sticks, you don't have to work as hard. So I tried that for a minute and I said, that's not working for me. So I'm back to my 5As now. I had a 55 BB for a minute, and sometimes I'll use it. You know, it depends on, you know, what I'm doing, but the 5As is like a very good standard stick for me.
Boy, that's fantastic. They do. They always feel great. And of course, the way Alan Vater, the company, makes them, the quality is always so high. Chris, Power 3A model. Talk about it.
Can't hear you, Chris.
I keep it muted because, you know, I'm in my garage. So, yeah, Power 3A. I started using those maybe a couple of years ago just because when I started playing, you know, the Lady Gaga gig, it just required more power, hence Power 3A. Oh, man, my name is not on there. Oh, my bad. Yeah, so I just needed a little more power. I needed a little bit more depth. The 3As just they started feeling like toothpicks to me after a while. Maybe my hands are growing or something. I don't know, but it's still a very comfortable stick. I record with the 3A. That's the only stick I use. So very comfortable for me.
Fantastic. Brian, Frasier-Moore model. Talk about it. What makes it different? How's it feel in your hands?
Oh, I didn't even know that you guys were going to talk about this at all. I had no idea. It was a surprise. No, actually, this sticks was tailored for me. I like a longer stick, so I got them 16. I think the 16 and a half length. I changed the tip of it that was it was originally a recording, and so I made it a little longer, beefed it up a little, changed the tip, and so this is kind of what works for me. The longer stick, not too fat, not too thin, still got a good nice body on it, and the tip won't tear your heads up, but still give you a good amount of pronunciation when whether it's on the drums or on the cymbals.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Pronunciation.
Can I tell on Brian real quick? When we were younger,
Oh God,
Brian used to have these long sticks with they had regal.
balls.
They were like they had the little ball at the top with the what was it? Is that a regal tip? You remember those sticks, Brian? They had it's a regal tip, right? With, with this plastic on the end, but it was a ball. It was a ball. I just remember those.
I thought I was Dave Weckl for a minute because I listened to him all the time. So I had his sticks, and I had the little small ball on it, the burgundy.
But he was killing, man. I'll never forget the first time we met, man. We were about 15 years old, man. Killing cat, man.
That's my guy.
Chris, if you would, hold that book up again. Pop, R&B, and gospel drumming on Hal Leonard. I want everyone to go out there, track it down. Hal Leonard, fantastic company. Check out the book. Everything's included. It's all explained. Thank you so much, Chris. There it is. Yeah.
Walmart, Amazon, Hal Leonard website. You can get this. Hope it blesses y'all, man. For real. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a great book.
So gentlemen,
wait a minute.
What do you got there, man?
Where did that come from?
Oh, I didn't even see that sitting there, man.
Is that for me? Oh, you shouldn't have, Brian.
Thanks, Brian.
You got my address, right? Yeah, you got my address.
Yeah. Oh, listen. I don't know how that got there, but while you supporting Chris, when you go buy the book, go on over and get you a snare drum. Amen.
What else you got over there in your box of goodies?
I got to FaceTime you, Doc. I got to FaceTime.
You guys are absolutely fantastic. I have to thank you so much on behalf of Vater. When we do these shows, it's so great that you guys have joined us here. You can obviously see you guys are dear friends. You have an incredible mutual respect for each other, which is really at the highest level. Absolutely. To respect someone as a person first, and then to bring on their art form and respect that. You guys really have something pretty magical. I'll tell you something. It's special, and I'm glad that everyone that tuned in here has been able to experience Lil John Roberts, Chris Johnson, Brian Frasier-Moore. I thank you guys so much. Stay well, stay safe, and we'll see you guys real soon.
Good to see you, Dom. Good to see you, brothers.
Good to see you, Dom.
Thanks. Well, these guys are fantastic. What incredible information. You got to go back there and watch this again. It's going to be on Vater's Facebook page. It's on Vater's YouTube channel. Go by there and check it out and grab and squeeze every word these great, great artists are talking about. February 23rd, we're going to have Mike Mangini here. So feel free to bring on the attention here, and we're going to ask questions to Mike Mangini. So when you come on, any questions you have for Mike, bring it on. We'll squeeze Mike for the time that we're going to have with him. And also on February 16th, we're bringing on Morgan Rose, Roy Mayorga, and Abe Cunningham. These guys are going to talk about hard-hitting physical issues and maintaining that energy. It'll be some great, great fun, as it always is. Thank you all so much for joining me. Vater, thanks so much. Chad Brandolini, you guys are great. Thanks. Stay safe. Wear your mask. Be well, and hopefully I'll see you all real soon. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.